What is going on, everyone? Hope you all are having a great Thursday evening. Got a great episode for you today. If you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, please let me know where you're listening from or watching from. Welcome to our live show. I'm still trying to get the hang of this whole live show thing, but hopefully you guys are being able to see me on either Facebook or YouTube on our YouTube channel. Remember, you can follow us on social media under Bass Kayak and Beers, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, of course. If you happen to be listening to this episode after it went live and you're listening on the MP3 platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, we would really appreciate it if you give us your thumbs up or your 5-star reviews, whatever format they use. It really does help out a lot with the growth of the podcast. So we really do appreciate it if you can do that for us. And if you want to share the videos on your Facebook accounts, you can do so as well. It is free, doesn't cost you anything. And again, we do appreciate you guys, girls, joining us for this episode. I am trying to find. I know some of them getting notifications. Some of you are commenting, but for whatever reason, I can't find where the comment section is. And again, guys, I do apologize. I'm trying to get used to this. Where are the comments? Oh, here it is. I haven't hit the comment sections. Anyways, I don't know if you're all commenting or not, but if you are, and I apologize if I can't see it. Other than that, I wanted to once again mention and plug in the Jeff Malott charity tournament for his granddaughter, um, Rowan Malott. If you don't know by now, his granddaughter, she's 6 months old, and she has been diagnosed with neuroblastoma. And it's a pediatric cancer that usually affects, very rare cancer that usually affects children 5 years or less. And again, she's 6 months old. Ryan Lambert is hosting a benefit tournament. It's on Tourney X. It's the whole month of February. You're not too late to sign up. You can sign up a day before the end of February and you will still be able to help out. It's a $30 buy-in. Then you can add $20 donations. So it'll be 50, or you can add $10 donations. That'll be 40, or you can have both, and that'll be $60. You'll be donating. Every single dime goes to the Malott family. As you would imagine, Rowan is in the fight for her life, and she's only 6 months old. Those bills are going to stack up. His son and his daughter-in-law, obviously, they have to balance, try to take care of Rowan, their daughter, and work, and it will be a big help. I think the way the tournament is, it doesn't matter how many fish you catch. You can fish from a bag, you can fish from a boat, you can fish from a kayak. It does not matter. Even if you don't win, you have a chance at the raffle prizes. I think the winner just gets like a plaque, but the prizes are going to be the raffle. So once you buy into a tournament, you get an opportunity to take part in the raffles automatically. Douglas, my sponsor for the podcast, is donating a rod for it, so you get a chance to win one of those LRS Douglas rod. It's going to be a travel rod, a spinning travel rod, medium heavy. I think it's going to be. We also going to be donating some merch, maybe some caps, sweaters, whatever Douglas is going to bring to the table. So that would, obviously, that's going to have a specific size. So we'll see how that works. But go ahead, check it out. Go to Tourney X, go to Rowan's Hero, and go help him out. Go help Jeff Malott out if you can. Other than that, we're going to bring in our next guest, Ryan Nye. He just won the 10 at the KBF tournament. I'm excited. I think the 10 is an underrated kind of elite trail that not everybody gets to qualify for. And I don't think he gets the enough respect as he does. So I'm really excited to have Ryan Nye, who won the tournament. A lot of great stuff we're talking about in the pre-recording. So without further ado, let's bring Ryan Nye in. Ryan, Nye is how you pronounce your last name. Is that correct?
Yep, Nye.
I forgot to ask you. This is Frankie Prolifrone, head honcho for the Slay Nation. Thank you, Frankie, for commenting. Uh, let's go Nye, he says. Ryan, again, congratulations on an amazing win. One of the things that really I was really impressed by, and by now I shouldn't be impressed because I see Derek Brundle do this all the time, and it's how you guys from the upper Northeast, Connecticut, Massachusetts, just go down to Florida and just find a way to just smash him and consistently place great in those tournaments. Was it hard for you to adapt from Connecticut to Florida to fish in those lakes?
Yeah, it's definitely different. Bringing up somebody like Brundle, and I mean, there's so many guys from up here in the Northeast that just can go anywhere and catch fish. And Brundle's just one of the names. I mean, you got Matt Conant and Mike Marcone and
Yep.
Ken Wood, and there's so many guys. But yeah, going from somewhere from up here where I mean we have ice right now, like
Yeah.
everything is frozen. And you go down to Florida and it's a whole different game, and vegetation all year and shallow water. Finding deep water down there is rare. I mean, deep water in Florida is usually like 10 feet. Um, and coming from lakes up here where you can get 50 to 100 or how you can get as deep as you want to get.
Yep.
It's just different, but it's the same concepts, and it's all finding areas that hold quality fish. And there's just a lot of people that are good at doing that, and just simplifying it to that. You're looking for an area and you're looking for whether it's offshore grass or just an area that you think fish are moving to, and just being in front of them is huge. So yeah, it's the same. At the end of the day, it's still a bass, but it is a lot different, than up here. But you just gotta fish to your strengths as much as you can.
Yeah, fish your confidence. Because at this point, I also think Florida is just so different geographically, right? That it's different for everyone, unless somebody from like the 10 is like you have to qualify, so they may not be any, or not much of the anglers are going to be from Florida. So I guess it's different for everyone because I don't think Florida is that relatable to any other part of the country, just because it's so different. And those Florida strain bass have this reputation for really being finicky and hard to catch, but at the same time, there's huge bass over there. One of the things that I wanted to touch on, Ryan, is, and I mentioned it on the intro, I don't think the 10 gets as much respect. And I understand a little bit of that thinking, in the sense that it's not like the Hobie BOS where it's the top 50. You have to compete against 50 anglers instead of 10. Like, well, in this case, and the 10 is actually 11 with the Invitational. And Bassmaster Kayak Series is also, you can have like 200 anglers. But I think the aura, or what is attractive about the 10 is just qualifying for it. Yes, you're not going to compete against 50, 200 people, but it's super hard to qualify for the 10. What does it mean to you to qualify for an event that just has the top 10?
Oh, qualifying was huge. I mean, I think that's a lot of people's goal when you first join KBF, is to make that the 10 house and be able to fish in that tournament. Um, I think a lot of people look at that as a prestigious tournament. I mean, if you look at it, yeah, Hobie has their TOC and Bassmaster has their classic, and but at the end of the day, it's the same people in
Yep.
most of that. Like it's Russ Steiner and Josh Stewart and Cody Milton and Derek Brundle. Like it's all the same people who are fishing both trails. But in this one, you have to fish against them. You don't have 50 other guys. It's it's just the 10 or 11 of you. Um, and the only way that 11th person gets in is if they catch more fish than the other. I don't even know what was down there for the Invitational, but it was a good turnout. So they had to go out and catch fish and earn their way in there on those same lakes. So there's getting there is huge, no matter how you do it. If you get in through the Invitational or if you get in from, the tournaments leading up to it and get in through AOI, I mean, it's really the same people. It's the hardcore kayak guys who just want to fish and they don't care what the name of the series is. And it's huge, getting in there is I was just happy with that, honestly.
What does it mean to you to just qualify for that 10? Like, were you surprised that you qualified? How did it shape out during the season? At what point did you notice, like, hey, I have a real shot at qualifying? And by the way, is this your first time qualifying for the 10?
Yeah, this is my first time, and this is my 4th year, I think, with KBF. So it's not easy, and it really comes down to the national championship. The national championship is points and a half. They may be changing that, I'm not sure, but there's such a huge swing at the national championship that you can be sitting pretty good going into the national championship, and then if you don't have a good event, you can drop so far down the AOY standings that you fall out of the 10. I think the last 2 years I've been in the top 10 going into the national championship, and 2 years ago I fell out of that, and with it was actually at the tournament at Caddo, and I finished I think 40th or 50th and fell out of the top 10. So you don't have to fall far. I mean, there's 200 people at those tournaments, so you still have a decent tournament, and you can still fall out of that. So it's just a combination of the season and putting yourself in the right place, and then really having a good event at the national championship to get in. And like I said, I think that's a lot of people's goal, and to me, it's super important. I mean, that's what I've wanted to do since I started with KBF is make that, and it's not easy to do, but it means a lot when you do it. And KBF definitely shows that with the way they treat that tournament compared to just a trail series or you know, any other tournament.
Looking at where you're sitting right now, well, right behind you, I can see a lot of like big checks, big awards. Is this? Would you say this is the biggest tournament you've won, the biggest award you've gotten?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just because of the guys and the caliber of people who are there. I mean, none of these checks are easy to win by any means. There's always somebody who's right right on your tail, or I mean, there's I think three up there that are actual wins, and the rest of them are top tens or something in that range. So there's it's never easy, but just being in that tournament and kind of what it means to the kayak fishing community, and whether you follow KBF or not, I think people do pay attention to it, and who's in the 10, and so to win that one is huge, and it's definitely the biggest one for me so far.
I know you have a close relationship with Derek Brundle. How satisfying was it to beat Derek Brundle? And I know that's with respect, right? Like when you have a good friend that and somebody like Derek Brundle, who's one of the best at it, especially coming from the Northeast. Do you feel like how do you feel? Like do you see like, oh man, I got one up on the great Derek Brundle, um, who is been in he's been a KBF staple since he started fishing. So he's been consistently winning tournaments and getting into the 10. So any rivalry there, friendly rivalry, knowing you guys are good friends?
I wouldn't say rivalry. Derek is probably one of the nicest people in that I know in kayak fishing, and I actually launched with him both days of the 10. And when we got back to the ramp, he like jumped out of his kayak. He's like, "Dude, you smashed him! That was so cool!" Like, just as excited for me as I was for me, and the same for him because he had a great day too as well. Like, we were both excited that we each had a good day, and he was like, "You had me by a quarter inch, and I had you by a quarter inch, and that was so much fun!" Like, he just loves it. Like, he just can't get enough, and it's cool to beat those guys, but it's even cool to fish with them and just have that, like, you know that friendship built through it. And yeah, it's competitive, and he wants to win just as bad as I do, but at the end of the day, we're both just having fun fishing, and two guys from the Northeast were down there and catching fish in Florida. So it's nice to beat him, but I would be, it's awesome when he wins too.
Going into the tournament, let's talk a little bit about the pre-fishing. How did pre-fishing, set up for you? Once pre-fishing was done, did you feel confidence that you were able going to pull this off, or were you figuring that this wasn't going to be it?
No, I'm not confident I was going to pull it off at all. So you have the trail that goes down, and they fish the Saturday, Sunday before. You have Monday as an off day, and then Tuesday, Wednesday was the 10. So those lakes get a lot of pressure from guys start pre-fishing probably Wednesday. You get Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, tournament Saturday, Sunday, and then go look again on Monday. And then, so there's a lot of pressure on those lakes. So being confident is hard, but found a little area early in pre-fishing, and I left it alone during the actual trail series tournament. And I really just tried to find something else. And I I just never did. I never found like a consistent bite do in a different area. So definitely not confident, but I knew that the area that I wanted to go to had fish. I just also knew that there was guys in the trail tournaments that were up there fishing, and you know they're not holding anything back for for those couple days like I'm trying to do. They don't, just, and I don't blame them. They're there to win a tournament. So I was confident there was fish there. I just didn't know how much pressure they had gotten, and I thought that I was going to have to grind it out, which is kind of what happened on day one. So
Sorry, I had my unmute on. When you look at going into day one, I noticed day one you ended up with 89 and a half. Trying to remember who in day one was doing amazing. I forgot the name.
Josh Stewart won day
Josh
one.
Stewart was doing amazing on day one. He had 98, so he and a half. So he was like 11 inches. I'm over you. I mean, no, 9 inches. I'm sorry. Horrible at math. When you look at that, I mean, you were fifth, but at the same time, the gap between first place and fifth place where you was just a lot. At that point, were you surprised that you were in the hunt? Yeah, how day two ended at all? Well, after day one, did you just feel like, yeah, this is not, I'm shooting for maybe second, third, or something, or did you still feel like you had a shot?
Um, I don't know if I'd say I felt like I had a shot, but I was gonna give it all I had. I don't really pay attention to that, and I know how much fish can change. So, and I think that's why you do a 2-day tournament, because so much will change and people will find patterns, and people's patterns, the fish will be moving off of what they were doing, and fish will be moving towards other people. And the longer the tournament, the harder it is to stay on them. So, no, I didn't think I had a good chance of winning. When someone like Josh has a 9-inch lead on you, you kind of lose that confidence. But I wasn't just gonna roll over. I wanted to go out, and I kind of found something late on day one that I thought would help me on day two, and it ended up working out better than I had thought. But I knew that the fish were in the area that I was in to do well. I just didn't know how to catch them until day two, really, because day one I just kind of junk fished around and found some fish, but I never lost that. Like, yeah, it's 9 inches, but things happen. So,
So let me ask you something, because you mentioned something about the tournament. Was it the 10 Invitational you said that you fished the a few days prior?
So there was
It-
the 10 Invitational was on Saturday and Sunday, but
yeah,
then along with that, on Saturday was just a regular trail event,
yeah.
and then on Sunday was another trail event. So there was kind of 3 tournaments going on over the weekend. So
And
I fished the trails, but not the 10 Invitational.
and at that point you had already qualified. Like and again, I'm not always completely familiar with the KBF rules, and I know sometimes a lot of changes. But the trails, and aside from the 10 Invitational, which is for somebody that hadn't qualified, um, the trail series that you fished over the weekend wasn't relatable. It's for next year's 10, right? It's not
Yeah.
for so you had already qualified for the 10, correct?
Yeah. So I couldn't get out of the 10, but you could fish the 10 Invitational and keep somebody else out. So, like,
Yeah.
if someone already in the 10 wins the 10 Invitational, then it stays as 10 guys. If somebody else gets in, then it's 11. But I didn't sign up for that, and I kind of used those trail days. I did sign up for the trails, but I kind of used them as like, I'm going to see what I can get, and I'm going to try as hard as I can, but I'm also going to not go to the best spot with 5 other people.
And that's what I was wanted to ask you. Did at any point it change your approach to what you were doing on trail 1 and 2? Did you feel like you found something pre-fishing for that the tournament, not for the 10 but for the trail series, that you thought, I found something that may be good, but were you reluctant to fish it just because you wanted to save it for the 10? Did that at all play into your decisions?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And
Interesting.
I used that. I wanted to expand on the pattern and see if the pattern would go all over the lake or if it was just in one area. Um, so I tried to just expand on what I already kind of knew and hope that it wouldn't get beat up too bad. But I knew that there was fish going to where I found in pre-fishing, but I didn't want to go there for 2 days leading up to the tournament and then take one day off and go back for 2 more days. So I just tried to expand and find other areas during that time, but also like not in a way where I was like giving up either. Like I was still fishing as hard as I could, just in different areas, um, just trying to find something else. And the first day of the trail, I actually ran. It was about a half-hour run across the lake, and I basically started maybe 50 yards from Casey Reed, who was also in the 10. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, we both might have found this little area. I'm just going to try to get out of here and try to find something else. So that's what I did. And day 2 of the trail, I ended up leaving and going to look at a different lake and really use Sunday like pre-fishing. I didn't go to my best stuff at all.
Yeah, and that's what was gonna ask you, but you already mentioned it. Did you approach trail one and trail day one and day two of the trail as you still wanted to win those trails, or we were like more like, let me look at it as pre-fishing and prepare for the 10? Any regrets on what you did on trail one and trail two that you would have changed?
Um, Not necessarily. I mean, obviously, the areas that I thought were going to produce better bags didn't. Um, and yeah, you can always look back on that, but at the same time, I didn't burn up the fish that I needed for the 10. So I wish I had better finishes. I think I only caught 4 fish each day of the trail. And um, yeah, I wish I did better, but I think you can always kind of look back and think that. So
So
I don't know.
did any of the strategy that you played in, like you mentioned, you left some areas, so you're like, I'm gonna explore now, and instead of burning areas that I might use for the 10, did that, even though you won, right? But would you credit some of that to winning the 10, or did that strategy really never influence you winning the 10? Does that make sense how I'm asking that?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. So like leaving it alone for those couple days,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that helped. Like I said, there was already some people up there, and I don't know what they were doing exactly, but I know that there was probably 2 to 5 people up there the whole time, fishing in that general area. So I don't know, just beating up on those fish and adding another person. Could I have gone up there for a couple hours each day and at least limited? Probably. But I don't know if it helped or not. It helped my confidence because I just felt like there was fish there, and I didn't go like if I go pre-fish something and then I go back 2 days before the tournament and then go back again and go back and keep checking
Yeah.
them, and then one day they're not there, then I'm going to lose all the confidence in that
Yeah.
spot. Where you kind of okay, there's fish here. I'm going to keep my confidence. People can do whatever they need to do up there, and I'm not going to go back until it matters. So you keep your confidence high that way. At least I do. Um, but no, I don't know. I think it was. I think it worked out.
I know we're all particular about what information we share, but I feel comfortable asking you this because, well, you have a YouTube channel and you already put it out there. So let me ask you this: for those that haven't watched your YouTube channel, your breakdown of day one and day two, let's talk a little bit about day one. How were you able to catch him on day one? Not just the bait, but how did you figure out how to catch him, and what baits do you use that help you catch him?
So on day one, we were on a warming trend. It got cold like Thursday, Friday, and then it started warming up over the weekend, and just stayed warm through the 10. So on day one, I figured that those fish would be starting to push shallow. So that's really where I started. I started with like a little Texas rig, like 1/4 ounce shallow, and I caught one early. I caught like a 19 something early, 19.25 or something. Early. So I was okay, they're going to be up shallow. And then I went a long time with catching like a 13 and then a long time. And I ended up pushing back off the bank a little bit and I caught a bigger one. And I was like, okay, so maybe they're moving in shallower, but maybe not everything is shallow. And then I continue to catch smaller, like little male fish shallow. And then if I moved off the bank a little bit, it was, better bites. So I my game plan was to fish that shallow stuff, but as the day progressed, I realized that if you wanted to get the bites, you probably had to go out a little bit off the bank, but I was pretty confident they were going to be on the bank on the first day, and that early it seemed like that was the right move, but as the day went on, it kind of fell off for me. But
I'm sorry. Again, muted myself here. You did an amazing job on day two. I think by far, I think you got the biggest bag on day two, and you jumped to 100. I think 105 inches on day two.
it
That
was
must
100
have
and a half inches, 100.5.
100 and a half. Yes, you're right. I apologize. 100 and a half. Yeah, the biggest bag by what 1.5 inches over Russ Snyder. Were you surprised that you were able to find that that size bass, or was it something that did it caught you off guard that you jumped 11 inches, or was it something on you mentioned it at the beginning on there was something on day one that gave you confidence going into day two? What was it that you found going into day two, and did it surprise you at all that you were able to put up this numbers on day two?
Yeah, so on later in day one, I started throwing a frog around, and I caught one on a frog, and it was like 18 and change, and just the way that it ate the frog kind of clued me in that it was different than what I was doing. The little Texas rig and flipping a Texas rig around pads and stuff. I was getting bites, and they were better bites, but it just wasn't enough of them on day one. And the frog, the way that they were eating the frog just seemed different to me. And I pre-fished with a frog, and I didn't get anything to eat to even touch it, but it just set up for a frog. So I always kept it on. I kept it on all week, and I caught that one later on day one, and then I missed two within the last half hour that were better size fish. I had a 13 at the end of the day in my bag on day one. So I knew that those were better. The quality seemed better on the frog. So going into day two, I really stuck with that. And I started the morning with it and fish shallow. And it was kind of the same thing. I was getting those little males to come up and eat it. And I caught like a 13, and then I caught a 15 or 16, and then another 13. And I was like, all right, well, they're biting it. I'm catching way more fish already. I caught 3 fish in probably the first 45 minutes, where it took me until 11 o'clock the day before to have 3. So I was feeling better about the frog, but I just needed the size, and I knew that the size was in the area that I was in. So it kind of surprised me, I guess, just because they ended up all like eating the frog like they were, and eating the frog that good. But just making that adjustment, and I caught one early that was like 18.75, and I just locked it in my hand. It wasn't long after that I caught a 19.75, and then I caught a 20.25, and then I caught a 20 and a half, and then it started to be like, okay, this could actually happen, and they're eating this frog, and it's only, I don't even know what time that was, but it wasn't late. Like I had a pretty good limit early. I think I had 99 inches, and I went like 4-ish hours without another call, but I was catching 17s and 18s and 16s, but I had an 18 and a half or 18.75 to get rid of. So I knew the fish were in the area, but at the same time, you start to think, did they get caught in the trail tournaments? Did they move out of here? Did they move shallower? Are they under the mats? Like, you kind of run all those scenarios through your head. But I think what I was doing with the frog, I think those fish were just coming to me and pouring into the bank from that little bit deeper water. So it just, yeah, it worked. It surprised me, but I knew that they were there. I just had to figure out how to catch them.
Yeah, one of the things that you mentioned, and I think somebody else that I was listening to talking about that tournament alluded to, is that it seems like to be a really like morning bite and then it shuts off. And I think Derek Brondo was the one who mentioned, I can't remember, but it was like, or it might have been you on the award show. I'm trying to remember. But anyways, it was like a morning bite, shut off, and then late afternoon bite. And looking at you, I mean, and obviously I think this might be I'm not sure how Fish Chaos works about the timestamps, but obviously this might be the not the actual time you took the picture based on data, but the actual time you uploaded it. And it looks like you really had like early morning 8:26, 10:23, 10:36, and 10:43. So you had a good solid 2 hours of just catching monster fish, like a 19 and three quarter, another 19 and three quarter, a 20 and a quarter, and a 20 and a half. And then he completely shot off us. Well, he could have caught other ones that just what do you call it? Man, I forgot the term. But anyways, that you upgraded to. And then the last one was at 3 o'clock, and that was in 20 and a quarter. What is it about having those 4 hours of like I'm not catching anything? How do you deal with that? Did you already expected that to happen, that it was going to be morning bite, noon was going to be tough, and then late afternoon bite? Or how do you try to keep yourself motivated and positive when you had that window, you crushed it on that window, you need more to move up into first place, and now you're in the 4 hours just with your thoughts trying to figure things out. Talk to me about what you do during those 4 hours where you're not catching fish and you need to upgrade in order to win.
So I guess, yeah, I had those four good ones fairly early, and then you go a long time. But what goes through my head in that situation is I'm in Florida and I can catch a 24 at any second. So just don't stop, because like they're eating what I'm doing, and some of them are 16, some of them are 17s, and they're not helping right now. But at any point, that could be a 24 or a 25 or a 23 or something crazy. So in my mind, I was like, if I catch one more giant, I'm going to give myself a really good chance at this tournament. And then I just switched my whole mind to that and just go for a big bite. But this bait is working. So you just need to keep doing this and keep grinding, and eventually you're going to get another bite. You just have to capitalize when it happens. And there was fish in that time. Like I caught fish all day long. It wasn't like a lull, but it did slow down a little bit. And then I made a move that was probably another half hour. I had one little area that I liked, but I didn't fish it until later in the day, both days. So there was time in there where I wasn't catching them, but just knowing where you are and that the potential is there will keep you going, I think.
What is the biggest factor on determining what to do? And we've all been there. I've been there, and I'm sure everybody that's fished a kayak tournament has been there. Where you have your 4 or 5 fish, but you need to either get one more or upgrade in order to land you into the money or maybe win the tournament. In that span of hours, continuing, what do you try to focus on to make sure you make a good decision? Because there's the thought of like, do I switch baits or do I switch spots? How do you approach that? Is it dependent? Do you have like one preference? Like you're going to say, whatever happens, I'm just going to switch baits first before I move, or I'm going to move first? Or it's just, in your case, reading what's going on and from that point making a decision?
Yeah, so I try to read what's going on more than having it like set, like, okay, I'm going to fish for this long, and then I'm going to do this. So I just kind of go with whatever feels right at the time. And I won't think about things for very long. I remember seeing, I think it was a podcast with, I think it was Brandon Polinick, where he talks about like, if you start at 5 and just count down and go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then whatever that is, just go with it. And don't like think, oh, well, if I hadn't done that, like just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, switch baits. Okay, I'm trying something new on. And then you do it and you try it, and okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm going to go run across the lake. But don't overthink it, because it's at the end of the day, it's just catching a bass. Like everybody that kayak fishes knows how to catch bass. But when you start overthinking it and losing confidence in what you're doing, and you go that route, that's when people spin out and it gets harder and you make it more complex than it is. But if you just stay confident in what you're doing and like, okay, I'm going to switch baits. Boom, you switch baits and start throwing that. And now you have the confidence in that, instead of being like, I've hemmed and hawed over this for the last half hour and I'm not really sure what I want to do. It's just easier just to think quick, make the decision and do it. And that's all part of the game, is decision making, and they're not always the right decisions, but
Yeah.
I think overthinking it is worse than making it, you know, the wrong
That's
decision.
that's a very fine line between overthinking it and analyzing it and reading it correctly. There's really no rhythm or rhyme to it. Maybe at a particular lake you can figure something out, like you mentioned, that okay, this is the right decision, but it all doesn't always play that way. There are times where you're like, I have no idea what to do, and then you started trying to gather your thoughts. One thing that I love about fishing and kayak fishing, difference from, I'm trying to think of example, but from a basketball standpoint, right? Like if you're down and you're shot on time, okay, we'll start running 3-point plays. If you are, if you're on a if you're playing baseball, you're in the ninth inning and you don't want the guy from first to get to a scoring position, move your outfielders back, prevent a double, that kind of thing, right? There's certain strategies is like, this is the strategy tried and proven for this sport in this particular situation. That doesn't work in kayak fishing. I think that's the beautiful and frustrating part about kayak fishing. What your decision that you took to get you that win at the 10, next local tournament in Connecticut may be the opposite decision. And then you have to figure it out. We never stop learning for kayak fishing. There's not a set of rules that you follow and you decide, okay, as long as I follow these rules, I'll be all right. It's just like you mentioned, the only thing you can have is not overthinking. And a way to avoid overthinking is with experience. And the only way to get experience is to spend time on the water. So it's, again, props to you for being able to figure it out and being able to, win the tournament. Let me ask you this. You got the last fish at least uploaded at the last minute. Did you really catch it at the last minute, or is something that you were just kind of holding back not to, announce that you moved into, a good position? Which one was it?
I wish I caught that fish earlier. I caught it at 3:56. So
350.
I had 4 minutes left in the tournament when I caught that last one.
How did that feel? Knowing after 4 hours of not catching or upgrading at least.
Yeah, so after I had 99, of course the goal is 100. I'm like, I'm close to 100. I know the fish are here to do 100, and that was the goal. So um usually for me that doesn't happen. I'm not usually like the last minute, oh, I caught one with, a couple minutes to go. That's not usually me. Usually I have whatever I'm gonna have by like noon, and I just watch myself slide down the leaderboard as the day goes on. So I mean that it felt good. And it, trying for 4 hours to catch one over 18 and a half or 18.75, whatever my next smallest one was a grind, and it wasn't easy to do. But I had that thought in my head, like, there's big fish everywhere, and eventually you might, stumble upon the right area that has one. And that last 20 was after I made the decision to move all the way back across the lake and fish that other little area that I had for the last, I think I fished it for the last hour.
You know what the amazing part about that is, when you make a move, you always think, did I make the right move? And now you're like 4 minutes away, and you're probably, I'm assuming, in your mind thinking, I made the wrong decision. I made the wrong decision. This is over. And all of a sudden, your decision pays off. Are you? And I should apologize because I should have watched the videos you posted on YouTube. That would have given me more context. But I also don't want to do a spoiler for anybody that's fishing that hasn't watched your videos. Was there any like raw emotions when you caught that one? Are you an emotional guy when you catch a fish that's gonna display it? Not that you do it for showing up, but just general emotion of just, God, I would. I mean, I've been on tournaments where I catch fish at the last minute, and I mean, even if I hadn't won, it's just a raw emotion. Are you an emotional guy in that aspect?
Yeah, there's definitely times where you get like that emotion takes over, and I'm usually like, I tell people that all the time. I spin out more when I catch a big one than when I lose one. Like, losing a fish doesn't bother me. I just look at it like, ah, it's just fishing. Okay, it is what it is. When I catch a big one, I get, like pumped up, and I, get excited and whatever, which I don't know, like I think it's just kind of part of it, but it definitely comes out. But with that last one, I catch it, I get it in the boat, and I click my phone to see what time it is and how much time do I have. Like I didn't even think like you can't celebrate now because if you don't get a picture, this fish isn't worth anything. So I just look at my phone, get the picture, and then it was like, okay, let it go. And I was like, all right, I got 3 more minutes, and I stood back up and kept casting. Like that one didn't get. It was I think the third one because I think or no the fourth one because I called like a 13 or something with a 20 and a quarter. So that one, like you get like those bigger calls, you get emotional, but when it's time like time crunch and you have to get the picture and you have to keep rolling, like I didn't that one didn't get to me as bad as some of them early. Like even in the first video I did, the first fish I caught, I was like pumped up, but I definitely get that sort of emotional when I get bigger fish in the tournament. I mean, that's why I do it. I just love that feeling of catching a big fish in a tournament, and it's just a blast. So to have that and a day where you put up, that was the best day I've ever had in a kayak with over 100 inches. I think the next best was like 97 or 98. Um, so yeah, no, definitely get some emotion going, but it's hard to keep that tame.
I'm not the chairman of the 100 inches clubs here for bass fishing, so I can't officially welcome you. But welcome and congratulations for making the 100 inch club
Thank
out.
you.
So this is your first time doing 100 inches on a
Yeah, in a
tournament.
day. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Let me ask you this: when did you find out that you won? Like I know sometimes guys talk about how they did before the actual award, and you kind of figure it out sometimes. In this one, did you just find out with the announcement, or were you guys talking and already figured out that you have won?
yeah. I guess I really figured it out with the announcement, but guys were talking. They're like, "I think you got it. I think you got me. Oh, I think you might have him. I think you might." But you never really know. At least I don't. I never feel confident in that. Like until it's announced, I don't know. I don't feel super confident in it. But I didn't. No, I didn't know until it was announced.
How's that feeling of right before the announcement, like before you knew, before the officially announcement, and what was you going through your mind? Were you like, I hope I got this? What am I gonna say if somebody leapfrog me at the end? And what were your thoughts going into right before they announced the decision or the results, I should say?
Yeah, I guess going into that, it's just I just felt like I did everything I could do. So if somebody did more and beat me, then kudos to them. And I don't look at that like it's a bad thing or I wouldn't be disappointed. I think going down there, I had the expectation of not zeroing and whatever. So when it comes down to you and the other guy, you're like, worst I could do is second. Like this is great, And of course you want to win, but I don't. I don't know. I don't get
Come
too.
on, man. You gotta be honest with me, Ryan. Everything that you say, I believe, but that's more like after the fact. That's more something you say to yourself, like, I caught, I didn't get skunked. But right there, you gotta be thinking, please let me please let me win, or
Oh yeah, yeah. No, you definitely want to win. I
yeah.
definitely want to be the one to win, but it like to be that high in that tournament, and I
It's an
think
accomplishment.
it
Yeah.
was me, Derek, and Glenn, and it was like they called Derek for third, and I was like, okay, so the worst I can do is second. And he had been telling me, he's like, I called 3 times, but I don't know. And I was like, okay, well, I called once, but so I don't know. You just never know, but you just see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
just try
definitely
not to
nerve wracking.
overthink it.
I'm sure it's nerve wracking just being up there and just waiting to see, like,
Yeah.
did I win it? Um, before I want to ask you a little bit about the experience of fishing the tent because I think that's very interesting. But I kind of want to give a chance for people to ask. I know we have a couple of people here on watching on Facebook and on YouTube. Does anybody have a question that wants to ask the great Ryan Nye? Shoot it up in the comments. Sandbag is out there. Jack, I don't disagree with you. I've never sandbagged, but I don't judge anybody. I think that's part of the sportsmanship. Sometimes you just don't want to say what you're catching and where you're catching them at. So, but if there's anybody that has a question, feel free to join us. Let's see what we have here. I got a comment here from Steve Hedgen. If you watch the video, you might be able to hear me screaming in the background when they announce him as the winner.
I actually traveled down there with Steve, so.
Steve Hedges and also Matthew Conant. Great Matthew Conant. Can I follow you at Murray?
Yeah, you can follow me at Murray as long as I can follow you next time we go to Gunnersville. That's fine.
Matthew Conant. Matthew, I need to bring Matthew. I missed the window to bring Matthew when he won the Triple Crown. I think he was the first one who won the Triple Crown at KBF.
Yeah.
What was it? Rookie of the Year, Angler of the Year, and
no, he won the national championship, the trail championship, and the challenge championship all at the same. That was at Gunnersville, I think, 3 years ago.
Only one that has done it. So, Matt, no, you can't. So, definitely need to bring Matthew Conant up to the show, and Derek Brundle too.
100%.
100% great. I've always said it on my podcast. I give a lot of props to the guys that are from the Northeast that come down here to this Southern Trails and just kick behind. It's it's a testament. It's not. It's really a Southern root sport, but it has grown so much, and it is now nationwide, even international. So I know Japan. Even South Africa, I follow some accounts in South Africa that is booming over there as well. So it shows a testament of growth of the sport.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because we get so much ice up here or what, but everybody from the Northeast loves to travel. Like all of us just go wherever, whenever. Like I know that there's a bunch of guys going to Murray in the next couple. When is that? 2 weeks. There's a ton of guys going down there from up here and.
Lake Murray, is that the one in Oklahoma City, right? Oh, not
South
Oklahoma
Carolina.
City, Oklahoma.
South Carolina.
Oh, South Carolina. Okay, we gotta. I know they had. Yeah, I was confused when I saw Lake Murray. I thought it was Oklahoma.
Yeah. Again, so all of us just try to get out of the ice, I think, and get down south. But and there's so many of us from up here that do well all over. I mean, 2 years ago, John Ferreira won in Florida. He's a mass guy. Like. There's just a lot of guys up here that go down and do well all over the place. So,
let me ask you about the 10 experience. You guys, from what I understand, you don't have to pay tournament fees. Everything's paid for. They have the 10 house, meals are paid for. I remember 2 years ago, I think that was the one that Conant won, or at least the year that he won. I don't know if he won. I don't think he won the 10 that year, but that even have like a bunch of great prices like Yetis or Orients. I can't remember coolers and a bunch of great prices. I know with the inflation and everything, it's kind of it's a lot harder to get all those great prices. But tell me a little bit about the experience, because to me, that it's the ultimate feel of you being like an elite angler, where you don't have to pay your tournament fees. You actually get a place. You don't have to pay for your place to stay. I don't think you have to pay even for your meals. What's that feeling like, and what do you like most about being in the 10, aside from the fishing, obviously?
Yeah, no, that whole experience is awesome. And they put us this year. We were at Camp Mac. They have it's kind of like a motel style, so everybody got their own rooms and bathrooms and everything. But you walk into your room and there's Yeti cooler, and Yak Attack gave us a bunch of stuff. Rogue Fishing gave us a bunch of stuff. The catch products, we get some catch stuff, and just a whole bunch of sponsorship stuff that KBF supplies, and the room's paid for, and no entry fee. So it's just you go down there, and I think everybody gets paid. I think $1,000 is the lowest payout, and it just goes up from there. So just to go to Florida, you get $1,000 to make the 10. And Chad would bring like lunches. He forget where he got them from, but they were just like pre-made sandwiches and stuff for your lunch for the next day. And then when we all got back, we would go to like a restaurant or whatever for dinner, or he got it catered one night, and they just take care of you, and the KBF sponsors take care of what they can, and Chad takes care of a bunch, and they film us down there, and they do like the TV show thing after to give all of the anglers that make it the little bit of publicity that we can get, and um, just they just take care of everything. So it's great. I mean, the whole experience is awesome, and KBF and Chad and everybody involved. I know it's more than just Chad, but that whole everybody that's involved does a great job, and the venue was good. And yeah, I have no complaints, and I definitely want to be back there. And I see why all these guys want to get back there every year, because it's so much fun, and you just hang out and talk fishing for 4 straight days.
Yeah.
There's That's what we like to do, and that's why we're there. So
Yeah, it feels like the ultimate guys weekend hangout. You actually getting paid just to be there. And again, credit to Chad Hoover for building this, because there's no tournaments out there doing this. And there's really a lot of like connections you have to make with sponsorship that are willing to, give out these great prizes, and even if you don't win, just giving out everyone prizes, the payouts, the accommodations. I mean, a lot of all the credit to Chad Hoover for building something like that. Definitely, um, kind of celebrates the hard work that you guys put that the year before 2022 to be able to get this. You've earned it, and to be able to get it rewarded with this event, I think it's awesome. And I really hope the 10 continues to be a staple of the KBF trails for years to come, because I think it's an amazing tournament. It is just a very, like I said, it's just a celebration for all these anglers that put on just a hard work to be there and to get there. And props to you and to everyone, because nobody is a loser on that one. Literally, like everybody gets paid to be there.
yeah, yeah, and I think just anyone that's ever gotten there just wants to get back.
Yeah.
And I've wanted to get there since I started kayak fishing, and now I want to get back even worse. So I can see how that tournament is sought after. And some of these guys, I think we were all talking that one night. I think Josh Stewart has missed that event once since it
Yeah,
started.
Just is a staple there. Yeah.
That it's insane
Yeah.
that you can be that good all the time. But some of these guys are just that good all the
Yeah.
time, and it just turns into a goal for everybody. And I know that's how a lot of people look at the 10, is that that's the end goal for each season, is to make that list. And
Yeah, I
it's not
think
easy.
for anybody that fishes the KBF trail, the ultimate prize is going up to the 10. I got a question here for Matthew, from Matthew. I'm sorry. Why is it not showing up? Matthew, your question. Here he goes. What was Ryan big fish for the week in Florida?
Uh, During the tournament, I think it was 21 and a half or 21 and a quarter. And then pre-fishing, I caught a 22.
Nice. Well, again, if you have guys, girls watching on YouTube and on Facebook, if you have any questions, we're gonna go to a little segment, kind of spotlight Ryan. For those that don't know Ryan, Ryan, what is your favorite lake that you love fishing?
I'm gonna have to say Lake Murray.
Lake Murray.
Yeah, that place is just so much fun. You can just catch a ton of fish, and there's stripers there, and you'll catch something typically. Um, but it's also a difficult lake. I think what I like about it is that you could go to one end and it's like the muddiest water you've ever seen, and then the other end is clear and deep, and so there's really something there for everyone. Like you can fish any style of fishing that you want to fish, and I don't know, it's just fun. It makes everybody has a strength there, I think.
What is on your bucket list for lakes that you would like to fish?
Probably some near you, like Lake York is up there, like those Texas lakes. Probably I want to go to Santee Cooper, so I might do that this year. The St. Lawrence River, I think, would be awesome, just because that place. And I know the elites are a little different, but those guys are catching 5 pound smallies like every day. And if you don't have five of them, then you didn't do much. But um, yeah, probably those couple would be right now.
What is uh biggest goal that you have for yourself right now moving forward?
Um, Probably to get back to the 10. To be honest, I don't, or to make the TOC. I think the TOC would be cool. I just would like to put more time into Hobie events if if I can, or if they have more up here or whatever. But I think I'm gonna either do 2 or 3 this year for Hobie. So if I can get back to the 10 or make the TOC going into next year, I'll be happy with how this year went for sure.
If you weren't fishing for bass, if for whatever reason you were told, Ryan, you can no longer fish for black bass, meaning smallmouth, spotted, largemouth bass, any type of bass, what will you be fishing for?
Probably nothing.
Nothing?
I don't
Not even
care about.
stripers, not
I
even
don't
catfish,
care.
nothing.
I don't care. Like we have striper fishing here. We can go out and catch, I don't know, whatever, however big striper on top water all day long, and whatever. We can go to New York and go catch salmon in the river. And yeah, Jack, he travels with me. He's my local fishing partner, so he knows. But like trout fish, I just do not care about anything except bass fishing, and I don't know why. Just it's just how it is.
Let me give you a few minutes to plug in. First of all, where can people follow you on social media? And I also want to give you a couple of minutes to, plug in any sponsors, anybody that you want to thank, really. Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, it's next to my name, you can see at R915. That's my Instagram. I typically post there more than anywhere else. So if you want to follow close, Instagram or Facebook are probably the best. I'm really trying to grow the YouTube thing this year, so you can find me on YouTube at just Ryan Nye Fishing. Um, and then yeah, that's probably it for social media stuff. And then as far as sponsors, I have to thank Old Town Kayaks. They help me out a ton. And Black Hall Outfitters, who's our local Old Town dealer here in Connecticut. Enduro Power Lithium for all my batteries and powering my autopilot. Martin's Custom Baits, who I actually just partnered with them, but I had been partnered with them through the KFL earlier, and now I'm with them individually, which is awesome. And Hooks at Hoodlums. So those are the people that support me, and then obviously family, my wife, my friends, everyone that follows kayak fishing, and all of the sponsors for all these big trails are super important, because without any of them, then none of us are really doing anything. So anyone that helps out with kayak fishing, it's greatly appreciated.
Well, Ryan, I had you for an hour, and I really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's a little bit late over there in the Northeast. Good luck moving forward on any of the trails. We hope to see you, whether it's TOC, Bassmaster, KBF, doesn't matter, even your local trail, Slay Nation up in Connecticut. Wish you the best, lots of success, and hopefully we'll get to see you here either on this podcast or any other podcast, just talking about another amazing win. Frankie, woo, Mr. Frank Polifrone, thank you so much for the kind words. For those out there listening, again, we thank you, appreciate you taking the time. If you're listening on our MP3s platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, we would love it if you give us your 5-star reviews. It does mean a lot. It does help out the growth of the content. Remember, you can watch also or listen to the Advanced Kayak Angler. That is every Wednesday with your host, Dan Perry. Last week or this week, depending when you're listening, he talked about the buyer's guide for Jackson kayaks. They cover all the kayaks that Jacksons have and where they shine the most, and that is with Dustin Nichols, the team manager for Jackson Kayaks. So again, we thank you so much. Check out the sponsor, Douglas Rods. Go to douglasoutdoors.com. Check out their full lineup of LRS X Matrix. And if you're into fly fishing, they have an amazing lineup of Sky G fly fishing rods that I absolutely love. So go check them out. This has been The Real Life on the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast. Thank you so much for your comments, your likes, your repost. We'll see you next week. Have a great night, everyone. Wear your PFDs. And if you're going to be on the water and you're going to have a couple of beers, please drink responsibly. Make sure you make it back home to your loved ones. Have a great night, everyone.